So SketchUp templates are something I use for all of my model types. The two main models that I do are actually the plan model and the site model. You can see here in my folder of SketchUp standards, I have a folder labeled templates, and in project base file templates, these show you each type of file that I use. So I have one which is the base home model, which is done as the project plan. I have a template for the site plan which is basically the whole site with the project plan referenced into it. And then I have some secondary ones that I've mentioned before that I do keep separate just for complexity, like these sections, the reflected ceiling plan, and the interior elevations. I have specific reasons for doing that with regards to complexity. You don't necessarily have to do with it, but for me it makes a lot of sense and keeps things a lot cleaner. As an example here, I'll show you what a blank template looks like. This is a blank project plan template, and when you open it, it already has two section planes in it, which are cut through and set to an approximate height differential between first and second floor, about 3 to 4 feet above the floor finish. Sometimes you have to vary that and move them around to position them so you can capture more openings. For instance, if you have high clear story windows, you might want to be able to capture some of those. But they are set up pretty well in a good distance that works for most projects. I also have each one of the scenes saved that I will generate a scene for layout. So it'll be looking at the elevations, floor plans, and roof plan for this type of file. You'll notice in the layers, it's a pretty simple layout with a hierarchy of a level system. So it has foundation, first floor, second floor, and roof. Then there are objects and special layers that are all contained within these other groups that are on these layers, so I can control them individually or globally with the level layers. And those are objects like cabinets, floors and walls, furniture, lights, patio, setback, trim, and then I have a couple of special layers that are either for gathering information like calculating area or line work, which is generated to vector render into layout. So I'm going to switch now to a plan that is already in one of these templates, and I'm going to show two versions of it. This is a schematic design of a house. You can see it's still set up in this layering system, and you have control over the different elements. Very simple globally with the level layers. In this case, I've generated a second floor roof layer, and you can really only determine if you need to do that after you've generated your section and positioned your section correctly. Sometimes you need to do that so you don't see some part of a roof layer that obscures another part of the floor plan. That's really on a case-by-case basis. But same with cabinets, floors and walls, things like that are all set on these different layers. You'll notice there is a site layer, which is the setback layer. I always import that directly from the site, so I'm well aware of where the building's position is relative to any setbacks on the property. It's also what I use to position the home in the site model. You can see here each one of these images are saved. During the schematic design, I use a more sketchy style. Helps the client think they have a little bit more flexibility, which of course they have more than they realize, even though the plans look somewhat finished. So as you go through each one of these, you'll see what the relationship of each one of these elements are. North elevation, east elevation, all of these are already preset and set up. Now you can adjust them, based on your screen or what have you, but it really doesn't matter once you have them organized. One of the key elements that's important in SketchUp and scenes, and this applies to any type of SketchUp scene, is that you have alignment. So you want to make sure that your SketchUp view matches for each floor plan so that the second floor plan overlays directly over that floor plan. It becomes a great factor for speeding things up in layout. And I just noticed my roof plan actually does have the section line cut, so I need to update that on this layer, which is very simple. I took the section cut off. I'm going to update it. It's probably going to ask me if I want to create a new scene, and I'm going to save that as a new style. The reason that is this way is in the schematic design phase, I typically don't show the client a roof plan. That happens as the project develops further, so I'll show you where this project goes. As each phase occurs or any changes occur, I always save different versions of the plan, so we can always go back if the design changes. This one is the first shot at the design. We are actually on the final, which only took 3. And you can see here there's a lot more detail. And so in this case, I don't use a sketchy style anymore. I use a more refined style. And in this phase, I also show all the furniture so we know how things fit. All the floors are aligned. There's a lot more detail on the project. I'll just click through each one of the views real fast so you can see how they relate to each other. Roof plan, as well as all the elevations are much further refined. You can see there's a lot of detail as far as trim, not only on the windows and doors, but on corner boards, as well as the foundation shown to its actual depth, as well as footings. And this has more detail like these knee braces here, the stone wainscot shown with actual thickness to it, as opposed to just a blank material. Continuing around. And so again, all of these elements work really well with a simple system of scenes and layers to be able to document a home quickly.